Hi, I'm Kelly,
I'm Val.
and we are here at the Johnson Family Reunion. It's 2025, and today we're going to tell the story of how we met. So I think I'll kind of kick this off a little bit. We were both students at Southern Utah University. Valarie had been on a mission in the Philippines and recently returned, and I was serving in the Institute Council and was helping with fall registration for Institute. Valarie had just come into the room in kind of a gymnasium type space, and the Institute director, who I was really good friends with, came to me and said, "Hey, you see that girl over there?" And I said, yeah, so what? And he said, and I quote, he said, "Unless you're blind, she's your future wife." So I went over, introduced myself. "Hi, I'm Joe Cheeseball. Nice to meet you." And it really didn't go very far at first, but that's kind of how we started.
So I remember sitting at the long banquet tables. I'm filling out the registration sheet with my roommate, Angie, and I had heard about Kelly. So I came home for my mission the end of July, and of course when you come home, everyone's trying to set you up with it. So I had gone out on a date with one of the guys who was fighting fires with Kelly that summer, and I was hearing about him, and were you hearing about me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we come to institute registration. I didn't know he was there, and of course, I didn't know that had happened. But then I saw him walking across, and he was wearing like Wranglers, I think, and some boots, and then he was wearing a vest from his mission. Remember that vest?
Yes, of course.
All that bright rainbow colors, and yeah, he came up and introduced me, and that's how we met. And then, and then back up a little bit. When I was hearing about Kelly Olsen, well, I didn't know about Kelly. I knew about Crystal and Cynthia from high school, because we played sports against them, and the Delta Fillmore rivalry was pretty alive back then. So that was really fun to meet Kelly, and that was our first initial meeting. And then,
So the rest of the story gets a little more interesting, in fact, because I wanted to ask her out. And I tried to ask her out a few times, and it seems like we just weren't getting very far. In fact, as I recall, my side of the story, I asked her out 3 times in one date, and she turned me down.
3 times in 1 week.
In 1 week, yeah. And she turned me down. And so I'm thinking, what's going on? Maybe I'm not going to have a chance here. So very bravely, I found her schedule when she was supposed to be in class and when her roommate was supposed to be at home, went to the apartment, knocked there, and to my surprise, Valarie answered the door and was the only one there. So I just went in and said, "Hey, I really like you, and I'm trying to date you. I'm trying to ask you out. Do I have a chance here?"
So back up a little bit. We met at Institute registration, and Kelly mentioned he was serving in the LDSSA. He was the LDSSA president. Well, there was a vacancy on the council. One of the members had gotten married over the summer, and it was music. So he thought, well, I met this cute girl at registration. I think I'll call her to the council. So he called me to be on the Institute Council. So we were seeing each other every week at meetings. And that's true, we had started dating. He brought me back here to Fillmore for one of our first dates was for the dining in the National Guard. Little did I know what a portent that was to be of the future, but we started dating, and he said he asked me out 3 times in 1 week, and I turned him down. So my side of the story, it's true, but my side of the story is one of those. It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and he said, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And I'm like, well, the reality was I'd already washed my makeup off, and I had like this clay mask on, so I was in no shape or form to go out on a date then. And then another one was like, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And it didn't work out. So I wasn't really turning him down like, "I'm not interested in you." It just kind of wasn't working out. So when he came over to my apartment, he knocked on the door. My class had been canceled, so I was there at home, and he found me. And for like 45 minutes, we sat there and talked. And he said, I really like you. I'd like to date you." And my reaction was, "Oh, really?" And so we talked for 45 minutes, and he looks at his watch, and he said, "Oh, I gotta go. I got class." He stood up and he walked out, and my heart was like, "No, don't go." And that was really the turning point in our relationship.
I remember one of the stories that while we were dating, we'd been on maybe 5 or 6 or 7 dates at this point, and I was driving, and I wanted to hold her hand. We'd never really held hands much before at all. And so we're driving along, and I couldn't quite figure out how to find her hand while I was driving, and
It was dark.
it was dark and in the car, and I was kind of feeling around, and finally I just said, "Where's your hand?" And she said, "Well, why?" I said, "I just want to hold your hand." And she was surprised by that, I think, but we held hands, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. Remember your car's name?
Samantha.
It was a Jeep Cherokee, and her name was Samantha. Another great story was we had dated 10 times. And not that I was counting at the time, but I kind of went back in time and notated that. But we hadn't kissed. And not that that was unusual, but sometimes you're kind of expecting it. Like, he held my hand. We went to a play at SUU, Jane Eyre, and I remember that was the time where he did this big stretch, and then he reached his hand over. And
Did I do that?
Yeah, he put his arm around me. So it was February 14th, 1996, the year we got married. We were married in August, but it was a girls' choice dance for Institute. I'd asked Kelly out, and after it was over, we went up behind the golf course, and we were just talking, and anyway, that was our first kiss on that day, which was really cool. Fast forward till, I don't know when we got engaged, but that's the same place where he proposed to me. And he got down on one knee, and he had a big, long spray of, like, wildflower kind of things. And of course I said yes.
So needless to say, we dated for quite a while, and we're very, very happily married. August 30th, 1996.
So we'll celebrate 29 years.
Coming up. So we're happy and in love, and all is well.